So I start by opening up the assignment Recreated Logos, number 6, Recreated Logos. It has all the directions on what you need, the Michigan logo, the Pepsi logo, the slide order. Down here, though, are the downloads. These downloads are important because I don't want you to use any Michigan logo. I want you to use the Michigan and the Pepsi logo in this project. So if you click on it, it'll open up. Now you can either right-click on it and say Save Image to Downloads, or we can wait for it within Illustrator. So let's start by creating a new document in Illustrator. Say Create New. Choose over here Pixels from the drop-down list, 2000 by 2000. Type that in if you need to and say Create. Now I can go back to Safari, see the logo here, and I can just drag it right into Illustrator. Again, this logo is only for reference purposes. It is not to trace over, so I want you to put it off to the side just so you can see it. If you hold Shift and drag the corner, you can drag exponentially, proportionally out the same way. We'll zoom out a little bit so we can see that for a second. So the goal is to make a logo that just looks like that. You can do it a number of different ways, so I'm not here to explain all of those different ways to you. One of the simplest ways you can do it is to take the pen tool and make points where you see these outer corners. Think of the Michigan rectangle and the text as an extra thing at the end. And consider making this M. So I'm going to do that again. I don't want you to trace ever, so I want you off to the side. Feel free to be like, okay, so I'm going to do that, and then a little bit over. It looks like it goes down for a bit, and then it goes over. And those lines help me out here in terms of figuring that out. So then I have to come over here because it's got this, and I keep going up and over for a while. I'm going to do the rest of it pretty quickly just to have something that we can talk about. But you get the idea. At some point, you've got an M. Now, it does not have to be perfect. So the goal here is that we've got a starting spot, but not necessarily an ending spot, because now I can take my white arrow and move my points around. And maybe this is where, if I turn on rulers, hitting Command R, rulers come up, I can use a guide. So maybe this is where a guide comes into play really nice. I'm going to undo that for a second. You can also, let me make this have a stroke of something. I'm going to select it, click on it, and make sure that I've got a black stroke on it for now. I'll give it a line so that we can see it. Maybe we want grid on, so we go to View, and then not Perspective Grid, but just Show Grid, and we've got this grid that pops up. Maybe that'll help in terms of measurements. But I really take my white arrow and I start to move things around so that everything lines up better. And it takes some practice. Sometimes I use the keyboard to move these points up and down. Sometimes I use the mouse. And I'm going to try and get it to match this. You can also potentially do it by combining shapes. Remember Pathfinder, if you click and drag a rectangle, and then click and drag another rectangle, kind of right over that. You know, that's probably going to be too big when I'm thinking about it. I just want it to stick out a little bit. So I'm going to undo and be like, okay, so maybe like that big. Move that up so that it connects over there. Maybe I want to make that a little bit bigger. So you work on this. Then I'm going to Command C and Command V that rectangle so that I do the same thing over there. So now I've got these two rectangles lined up. Make sure they line up. So this becomes my initial shape. I can just hold, select them all by either holding Shift and selecting one at a time, or clicking and dragging over all of them. Then go to View, Window, remember Pathfinder we talked about, and this Pathfinder, this one right here lets us combine shapes, unite them. So we click it, and oh my goodness, look at that, it's got one of those shapes. So then we start to think through, okay, so how do I get this other shape? Well, this one might be a little bit more of a challenge. It might involve the pen tool or something, so that I make this kind of extra V part. So I might come down and I might, click on, not necessarily, let's see, maybe like this, and then I'm going to come down to the middle part. It looks like the V comes a little bit further down. And then I'm going to bring it up like this, and I'll fill that circle in. I've got another shape there. So then I'm going to take that and select those two and combine those two. So now they're one, and you get the feeling that, oh my goodness, we're making an M. And the real simple thing that you can do, if this is really, if you're spending the right amount of time on it, you Command C and Command V it, flip that thing around, you put it next to each other, and hopefully you get some sort of overlapping M look. So maybe I need to pull that out a little bit more. We'll see. You have to overlap at some point to get the thing to work. So I'm going to combine those two shapes if I can. That might not let me until I overlap a little bit more. So I'm going to have to overlap, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. Oh, no, it did combine. It just combined in a way that has these strokes in the middle, which makes sense. So then really what I have to do is I have to take if I was going to do it this way, I'd take a box of some sort, maybe, or maybe just pen tool, and pen tool a shape that just kind of goes over the top of this little area so that it looks white. So I'm going to take that and select it and make sure that that is no fill or no stroke, just pure white. Now I take that, I drag it, and I get my shape. That's Michigan logo. Maybe that helps. Maybe you can do it this way. This way you have to take the white arrow and still adjust some points with this method, but either one of them work. And try those things out.